found a nice reading in The Imitation of Christ. And my curiosity in this book actually lies in the fact that Swami Vivekananda carried two books with him whenever he was wandering. One of them was this book, The Imitation of Christ, which is written by Thomas à Kempis, and it's really a handbook. I don't know, I think it's a handbook for monastic life, probably spiritual life in general. But in book 3, he's talking about interior conversation or interior prayer, or a form of deep inner communion with the divine. And he starts by quoting a psalm, Psalm 85 actually. He says, "I will hear what the Lord will speak within me," says a devout soul. "Blessed is that soul who hears the Lord speaking within, and from his lips receives the words of comfort. Blessed are the ears that heed the inner whisperings of the Lord, and pay no attention to the deceitful murmurings of this world. And blessed indeed are the ears which do not listen to the loud voices from outside, but instead are attentive to him who inwardly teaches the truth. Blessed are the eyes which are closed to things outside, but gaze intently on things within. Blessed are they who acquire virtue and labor by spiritual and corporal works to receive daily more and more of God's inward inspirations and teachings. They also are blessed who determine to serve God alone, ridding themselves of every hindrance from the world." I'm drawn to this because, one, Sri Ramakrishna says in his gospel that that which arises in pure mind or silent mind is the voice of the divine. And he's always talking about turn within and dive deep, O mind. And by diving deep, he doesn't mean dive into the mind. He means silent the mind and go below it. And in that inner silence of what I like to call the shrine in the heart, in that inner silence where that divine principle resides in us, we come to a gnosis, or a knowing that's not relative, that doesn't come because we query in the mind. It's a spontaneous wisdom. And this communion with the divine, we read it in Ramana Maharshi's teachings also. Actually, I knew a great Swami, Swami Damodarananda, who lived with Ramana Maharshi for a couple of years, and I got to meet him and talk with him for quite a few days, actually, when I was at Bellarmont to take my final vows. I used to go to his room and sit on the floor with a bunch of other young monks and ask him questions. And one of the things he would say about Ramana Maharshi was that the 2 years that he spent with him, when he was doing his own studies, Damodarananda that is, and he would write down all of these questions that he had and all of these points he wanted to make. And he said every time, without fail, when he would go and sit in the presence of Ramana Maharshi, that Ramana Maharshi would teach in silence. And he said in that silence, there was such an inward knowing, and his questions would just fall away. They just seemed so unimportant when he was sitting in that silence. And he would just go into the heart and find a great deal of peace there, a great deal of knowing there. And so be blessed. Don't think that this knowledge of the divine comes from outside, from through the senses. Don't think that it's a philosophy or knowledge that is relative in the mind and that you could pass a test and thereby be spiritual. This is a deeper knowing. This is a knowing that comes beyond words, and it lies within every single person, that kingdom of God, that divinity within, what I even like to think of as the Garden of Eden. And the only requirement is silencing the mind, which really is just letting go of the ideas of me and mine, letting go of selfishness, letting go of the idea of being separate and apart from the whole, seeing everyone as yourself. They say that the highest form of worship is to serve that divine in all things, that's where worship happens. That temples and churches are really just an opportunity, but really the real worship happens as you release your love, as you release it with equanimity and freedom and constantly, and never react from a place of egoism or selfishness. So indeed, be blessed, go within, find this place that the scriptures are talking about.